Good Saturday, everybody. Jesus is still sleeping, so we'll wait for the surprise tomorrow. But Stephen Wheeler, shout out to him for sending me this link to a video on the Facebooks of Bobby Gately. So I definitely have a new respect for Bobby Gately, that he's retarded. And I know how you guys feel when I made fun of MB enclosures being retarded. They're like, man, if he's retarded, why are you making fun of him? Well, it's because he's out there selling stuff. And when you're out there selling stuff, that puts you in the public profile, me included. Really, if you want to know someone's character, look at what the products they offer. Look at the price point they offer. That's what I look at. This is a bit of a critique about Bobby. It's also a bit of a critique about brotherhood in specifically the car audio industry. That's Benny. Actually, hang on, let me call him back. Sorry, old habits. I forget that I use what is that, CapCut now. There's really nice, fun software. It really should get bought by somebody, but I kind of like that you can use it for whatever. But I think they have some sort of affiliate program with TikTok, which is good. It might be a subsidiary. I haven't done the research on that. But anyways, Bobby Gately, and the way that you can tell about somebody, and this includes Sparked Innovations, which is, what's his name? Ed Lester, who, by the way, if you want something that kind of looks like a Superman version of Audiobahn, they've got some new woofers coming out. And I recommend, I always loved new product. It just depends on what price point you're going to come in at. And that determines, of course, your profit margin, because all this stuff basically costs the same as far as production goes. Because China is just China, and you can't really get around that. But I'm just doing some soldering, by the way. I'm just working here, but I was listening to the Bobby Gately video on Facebook, and I will give you the link for that so you can watch it yourself. Basically, Bobby made the video to talk shit about quote-unquote scumbag brands, which it's like, okay, what is that definition? And basically, what he really sounded like was a whiny little bitch, crying about business, or about, like, what's a poser, like skateboard community was big on that too, about, oh, you didn't really land that trick or whatever, like, again, a lot of that has to deal with machismo. It doesn't really have to deal with facts. So, but, so anyways, Bobby goes on to diss. That's Negro talk for disrespect, just so you know. So he goes on to diss not only Scar as a brand, but anybody that uses their products, which I thought was hilarious. One of the things that Bobby points out is that Scar looks exactly like, or they model their marketing look of their product after Sundown, which is true. You have to understand why, though. So, and again, I would love to hear from the horse's mouth, but again, I've gone through this process as far as acquisition and getting product made in China and all that kind of stuff. And if you remember your history books, what happened was the guys at Scar wanted to come out with some woofers, and of course Jacob comes highly recommended, right? Because he's as Bobby calls it, he's like a wizard. He's like a wizard engineer, and I'm like, you should look at his work, and also you should compare it to other engineers' work in other facets of industry. So, like a mechanical or an electrical engineer in semiconductor, or other types of manufacturing, which I have experience in, which I've interfaced with. And Jacob is no engineer. He's a designer, but he's not really an engineer. Now, if he looks up specs and all that kind of stuff, good. But a lot of those specs aren't really important in car audio. So if you go out and get a EE degree or some other engineering degree just to work in car audio, you're kind of a dummy. But whatever. So anyways, Bobby is, of course, stroking the shaft and plucking the shaft hairs of Jacob, and how Jacob's woofers are so awesome and how could you ever beat them and all this kind of stuff. But again, you got to go back to the history of Scar, which is that Scar wanted to come out with an 8. Jacob was at the time was not doing as well as he is now, and so he was a bit of a, you know, I don't want to say a prostitute, but he was for hire, and he cut a deal with Scar to import and quote unquote engineer a product for them. And when Scar found out what the source cost was, and that Jacob wasn't as smart as he led them on to be. That Jacob was depending a lot on what was just available in the market. And when I say market, I'm talking about in the factories, what was available from the factory. And so basically Scar figured out that Jacob was hoodwinking him, and Scar said, okay, thanks for that run. We made some good money, but we're going to go ahead and just talk to Alibaba ourselves. And then that's when it sort of became this feud of, you know, Jacob all of a sudden doesn't like Scar. It's like, wait a minute, dude, you did some woofers for them. Like, how could you not like them? Well, Scar is about business. And a lot of times, and again, I get to see this a lot at Recoil. You know, when those guys at Recoil make fun of someone in the market, or they copy something, it's for a reason. A lot of times it's just for revenge. So, and that's because whoever the owner is of whatever the brand is that they did business with probably screwed them, or probably just lied to them, or probably misled them, and things like that. So, and I think this is actually a genius marketing thing of Scar, which is that, of course, they make their products look like old Sundown, not new Sundown, but old Sundown. Especially the the frame that stupid Jacob tooled up. You know, his cast frame that he uses on the X, Z, and Nightshade. And then when Scar went out and tooled up their own fucking basket version of it, you got to understand that Scar is doing this for 2 reasons. Number one, it's good marketing, because why be on the cutting edge of marketing when you can just, you know, what is it called? Like when trucks huddle together, I forget what it's called. Anyways, you don't have to be the leader. You don't have to be the windbreaker. So you can, you know, hang out with Jacob's farts, let him be the industry leader and make all the mistakes and take all the punishment while you draft. That's what it's called, drafting. So you can just draft in his wake and make a lot of money, and also tell him fuck off. So, because every time you see a Scar product, or every time you Google Scar, or you search Scar or Sundown on Amazon, you're going to come up with Scar product. So okay, let me say that straight so I can make sure I said it straight. If you look for Sundown, you're going to find Scar product. Why is that? Number one, it looks a lot like Sundown, but it's cost less, and a lot of times they're made in the same factories. And again, I know this because I've seen the production facilities where they're producing Sundown. And it's not that secret. And again, they don't do anything different. Bobby is a bit of a blowhard, and you see that in his product pricing, right? So he goes for marketing for the people that are rich and dumb, rather than the people that are poor and dumb. And he's right, most of the market is dumb, but you don't have to sit there and say that to their face. I only say that to people that are like willfully ignorant, or they're out there spewing garbage like Bobby Gately for his benefit, which of course then he pitches his stupid woofers that he didn't engineer, that he doesn't make, that he, you know, it's one of those, it's a boutique brand. He puts his name on it, and you know, oh, I did engineer, and you know, he didn't do any work. He just is a designer on it, like the Olsen twins, where they just go, okay, we'll take these in pink, we'll take 1,000 of these in blah, 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 or whatever. So, you gotta, I don't even want to say he's like a smarter version of Steve Mead, because I think Bobby is actually pretty dumb as well. And he basically just does a more automated version of what MB, I keep wanting to say MB Court, but it's MB Enclosures does, which is you just make the box too big. So, but again, to validate Bobby's criticisms of Scar, what's funny is one of the things that he said was good about Scar is that their website is correct. Well, and it should be, because Scar uses mostly off-the-shelf frames, right? Like the 4-spoke, the 12-spoke, things like that, stuff that's already been established. But I had mentioned when I was looking for the cutout on the EVL 12 that the cutout information was actually incorrect. So Scar had listed it at 11.25 when it's actually 11.125, which is 11 1/8 rather than 11 1/4. I just thought that was funny that Bobby pointed that out as a compliment to Scar, but he was actually wrong. And again, it's just kind of silly pettiness. It's not really that big a deal. And you also got to understand that all of car audio, especially if you're doing any kind of numbers, especially on Amazon, you're not going to have a lot of people like Larry Frederick or even me, mostly because we're too expensive, and those companies don't want to pay for that kind of engineering. Now, what Bobby probably did with Jacob is he probably did like, hey, if you import these, you get more than your typical 20%. So if you import for somebody, the typical cut is 20% of landed, and meaning after tax, title, license, and all that kind of stuff, after the cargo has landed at your location, then it gets marked up 20%, and then that's Bobby's price. And then Bobby is in charge of retail marketing, and he can do that through Down for Sound. He can do that through his own website. He can do that through all kinds of mechanisms. And then the Bobby price, he divides up between the distributors, who is, Big Jeff, like I said, Down for Sound, which is JP, or even Wholesale House, or whatever he chooses to distribute his product, or his branded product. It's not really his product, but again, that's fine. But I just thought it was really funny the way that he was real kind of petty about Orion, and also Scar, and he was bashing the people. What he was really getting at, if you want to get to the truth, and I could see right through it, which was that he doesn't like Scar customers because Scar customers are cheap relative to what he wants. He wants somebody that is rich and dumb. So if you have to choose between rich and dumb or rich and poor, and you're in this for money, you're going to choose rich and dumb. And that's what he's trying to choose. He's trying to, again, distract you guys with saying that, he's using Scar as a scapegoat, when really Scar is a really high value, high producing, huge, God, I wish I could show you the numbers on Amazon, because Amazon shares the numbers of everybody in your category and shows you how much of the market that they control or how much they're feeding. And Scar is like off the charts, insane numbers, like lots and lots of money every month. Sundown is way down, Rockford is way down, and then there's this tiny little dot on there that is Recoil. And Recoil still does like 50K a month. So I can only imagine the kind of numbers that Scar does. If you notice also, Scar doesn't do a lot of what I call personalized or even guerrilla marketing. And that's because they don't need to, right? They don't even need to have a dealer network. And I've talked about that before, where I signed up Blackjack Audio as a dealer for Scar, and then when I got to look at their pricing, I was like, everything's cheaper on Amazon. Why would I do this? And so then I hit them up and I said, hey, will you sell me dead woofers? And they're like, no. And again, that's to their benefit. It's better to just throw them in the trash than it is to put them out there in the market and flood the market. So some of the other things, again, I'm reviewing the video in my head. You can go over the video. It's kind of boring and kind of long, but some of the other tidbits that I gained from the video was he was talking about sloppy gaps, and he was complaining about the ZVX from Scar, which is, of course, silly, because all Scar does is look at what Jacob does. Like, you can buy a dead or even a live Sundown woofer and then just make a copy. So what I wish that Scar would do is make a better copy of Sundown products. And so if they're not going to do it, I can do it. So in fact, we're doing the reproduction of the TC Sounds 3HP Neo, which you saw under the Lightning Audio brand Storm Series. that Thilo Stampler had produced for Rockford Corporation. And I'm going to do a bunch of cool improvements that help with that help control heat, and then maybe add some extra performance. Mostly because the population of those motors is super small. There's not a lot of them, and a lot of larger manufacturers, like especially somebody like Scar that does huge numbers, or even Sundown, they try to stay away from Neo, mostly because when you deal with the build houses, when you come out with a successful product, they'll come back and gouge you for the next run. Because they go, oh, the price of Neo went up. The price of Neo didn't go up, but they just want more money because they know you're making a huge profit. And that happens anytime you use Neo. Just because right now, China is the only place to find both refinement and manufacture, which is, soup to nuts, on neodymium. So, and again, until somebody else, like some larger industry, comes in and sort of shares the market with that, which they could do it in Canada if they wanted, but they don't. But anyways, until somebody comes in, I would see Tesla being able to do that, but they would probably outsource it to, I could see them doing something big for Africa, just to say, oh, we're pro-Africa. It's not that they're pro-Africa, it's just that everything's cheap there, and a lot of the minerals are already there, and so it makes Tesla look good to be able to promote something that's made in Africa or something like that, that's high quality. Again, you have to look at things through lenses of what a billionaire sees. A billionaire sees a savings of 2 cents as an extra $1 billion because they're doing those kinds of numbers. That was one of the other, what is it? It's not a compliment, complaints that Bobby was whining about, was that a company like Scar, will sit there and, try to weasel 2 cents by using a different spider or a different type of lead or a different method, and rightly so. That's the efficiency of the market. That's what all these stupid Republicans talk about. Free market, free market. China is always working against you, just so you know. Anytime, and like I just explained with the Neo problem, they're always looking to make more points on the same effort. They want to be rich too. Everybody wants to be rich. And so when you acknowledge this, you start to see consistencies through the market, and you start to see market trends in manufacturing about why they're doing this. So one of the great things about like what Scar does is they use open tool frames, stuff that's not only proven, but just it functions right, and it does great stuff. In fact, on some of them, I'm getting samples from Lord of Bass. I ordered the new 12-spoke 694 frame, which is the 12-spoke typical one that Scott and Mark at RE Audio had tooled up. I think maybe Scott still controls the tooling on that, but I want to see this version that's coming out of Lord of Bass that he's ordering. I think Scott has moved a lot of the manufacturing away from XY just because XY is super busy and they don't really pay attention to quality the way that, these are boutique brands, so you really got to pay attention to quality and make sure that this guy is getting what he paid for. And but Scott, again, he probably makes more money in royalties than he does in actually manufacturing and marketing products. Again, he's not talking, but I would love to glean that and hear that from his mouth about some of his financial victories. Those are victories for the car audio, because when you get somebody that loves audio and loves manufacturing and loves physics and engineering, such as I. And then they get a lot of money, they can bring a lot of cool stuff to market for really cheap. And that's really for most people. Again, most people are poor, most people are dumb. And so if you can give them a high performance product for cheap, you are a fucking winner. And that's what shows up in the numbers for Scar. So when a douchebag like Bobby Gately starts bashing on them, it's like, first of all, that's a mistake. You're shooting off your own dick, because these customers' money is just as good as the dumb Richies. But if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Again, he's not the smartest businessman. If he was, he would be bigger. But a lot of that also has to do with financing, your relationships with the banks, who gets the loans, and also other market forces. Like I've talked about this in previous videos about a lot of the success that Jacob has seen is mostly due to timing. It's not because he's an engineer. You can see that in his products. He's not that great of an engineer. He makes lots of mistakes, and they make it to production, which is, again, a quality issue. The example that comes closest to mind is the XV2. There you go. So, and I've talked about that on previous videos. But again, you have to look at Bobby's motives and the payouts that Bobby is looking for. So in his mind, he probably made this video as a way to not only stifle competition, which I think is always bad for the market. Again, that's just my opinion, but also to boost himself as sort of the hero that saves the market. That, like, oh, you want sundown? I can give you sundown, but it has a different look to it. So, and what's his name? Is it Ed? Yeah, Edward Lester, who I don't appreciate. I don't like him as a person. I don't want to bash his products because his products might still be good. And him and Jonathan Demuth, who Jonathan, I really appreciate his work ethic, and I appreciate his products, and I really appreciate his demeanor. But him and Ed Lester are like bested buds. So it's kind of, I don't want to bust Ed for being a weirdo douchebag, even though that's my opinion, if his products are good. Do you see what I'm saying? The product is what does the most speaking. There was another one, which was Dan Horner's project that he's doing through Directronics. Directronics was Stupid Brian's spin-off gift from Jacob for being he was totally nuzzling the shaft hairs of Jacob in order to get that deal. And what Brian did was, Brian was the, I forget Brian's last name, but Brian was the basically product fulfillment warehouse manager type of position for Sundown. And they basically spun off, I don't know, they probably did the financing through the brand. Like he gave Brian this department, which Brian named Directronics, and uses the initials DTX. It was to get rid of all the returns, the pallets and pallets and pallets and pallets of returns that Sundown was getting for dead woofers, for people that abused them and all that kind of stuff. Also for a lot of defects. And I know this because I bought pallets and pallets and pallets from Jacob when we were on speaking terms. But that business went over to Brian, and Brian was fulfilling those things through his brand Directronics. He then sold that deal to Dan Horner, who I contacted for comment, but he didn't respond. So even though we're Facebook friends, I'm not sure if we're real life friends, but that's fine. Dan's work is very good. He does really great recone work. And I wanted to promote his subwoofers that are coming out called, I just forgot the name, Creamsicle. It's basically a white TI frame with a very stout motor. It looks like something about the size of a XV3 from Sundown. It has a little bit different shaping, of course, because you don't want to have a copy of Sundown. That's Jacob's and now Scotty Johnson's product. But it's a very beefy motor, TI frame. I'm not sure if he's going to promote whether or not it's removable. And just because somebody uses the TI frame, for instance, Scott over at Phi, doesn't mean it's always removable. So you got to use only the 127 or the 135 millimeter bolt hole circles, BHCs, in order to get access to those things. Otherwise, you have to use a QCA ring, which is what Tilo decided to use, and that's an expensive system that doesn't. It's very hard to maintain that and still make a good profit on it. It's really kind of unnecessary because the removability of the TI frame is built into the design. Whether that's on purpose or by accident, it doesn't really matter at this point. But so anyways, look for that. Go to directronics.net. I don't know why they couldn't get the .com, but whatever. That was Brian. And look at their Creamsicle subwoofers. They're really affordable, and they're blank, which is what I appreciate. Even if you get them with the DTX dust cap, just get it with a plain dust cap, and then what you can do is always cover it with epoxy, or you can just cut it off and do your own. But they're really great for rebadging and reselling. That's where I see the value. Otherwise, it's just another, it's like Sparked Innovations woofer that he's coming out with. It's just like hey, I got my own woofers. Like I said in the Sparked Innovations one, I don't remember the name of the series that they called it, but again, I saw this on Jonathan Demuth's Facebook page of him promoting Ed's line. It's a fat blue foam surround, and then what it looks like is a metal cone. It could be metallized polypropylene, I don't know, but I would love to see somebody do a review on it to kind of show it off. And also, again, the proof is in the pudding, even if it's from Bill Cosby, and that would be price, value of what you're getting. How many layers is the voice coil? How much power can it handle? Of course, it's going to use a 10-inch frame and mega roll, which again is pretty generic. That's what I use. And so, again, it's not so much that it's an innovative product, it's just sort of a Me Too product, but it can still be valuable to you. And that's what I want to bring to you. Again, my goal is not necessarily to sell you audio. My goal that I've chosen in life is to help you reclaim your life, to help reclaim value in this hobby that we all share, which is, high performance audio, whether it be home or PA or even car audio. And this is just the vehicle that I like and I enjoy and I'm good at, and I'm able to, make a lot of people happy with it. And so I want to share that with you guys because, again, I don't really have any special skills. I happen to have some conditions that I believe that helps me, that are my superpowers. But what I found was a lot of satisfaction in not only the joy that I bring to people, because I found out that that's what I really enjoy, is if I can help solve somebody's problems at like half the price, and also deliver a better, looking, sounding, functioning product that has a really long lifespan, I get so much satisfaction from that. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be weed, it could be light bulbs, it could be whatever. I don't really care. I'm searching for that. And then if I can help people, again, the goal of our church is to help you make $1,000 a week from home with your family, so you don't have to commute, so you don't have to buy childcare, so you can spend more time with your family, which is why we go to work in the first place. Now, as far as working from home, it requires a lot of discipline, and a lot of people don't have that kind of discipline, and also don't have that kind of facility where you can put the kids in a small jail or give them drugs so they sleep. But again, if you're at least home, you can spend more time with them. And that's what I really missed out in my childhood. And I still carry trauma about it, but I use it as fuel to help me, again, make a better difference in my own life and the lives of other people. And this just happens to be the vehicle. So, but I hope you enjoy this little spout. I'm done. Oh, I got to put the boots on this one. But I hope you enjoy my little rant about Bobby Gately. And I definitely, like I said, I have a different respect for Bobby. He's just like a non-tattooed version of, and more effeminate, which whatever, I don't judge that part. I thought it was funny, some of the tones that he had in his delivery. Believe me, I sound super gay. Like, I know, so don't worry about it. But, and again, if Bobby's gay, it's like, so what? This is fucking everybody at Recoil's gay. And, also mostly just whining and then shit talking without really being able to back it up. He talks a lot about betting all of the money he's ever made, but he has not done that. And what's really funny is he bets it like, again, Bobby's going to test something first before he bets any money on it, because like Steve Mead, he's doing it for the spectacle. He's doing it for the bragging rights and for the, you saw when, who was it? It was Sundown bragged about that they broke the world record for loudest, whatever Jizz Factory or whatever car audio is. And, they were top of the world. They were the best, and they talk about basically, it basically is able to compile all the shit talking that they've done about other brands. And then what do you know, like 2 weeks later, it was taken away from them. It was somebody else. I think it was Orion, somebody else. I don't remember. Again, I'm not really concerned with that kind of stuff. I think it's kind of dumb. But, and what I really find fascinating is the way that these grown men dedicate their time and their lives and their livelihood to shitting on other people that are doing better than them or doing just fine. So, and believe me, I can hear you guys in my head. They're like, Patrick, you do the same thing. And I'm like, go back and look at my arguments. Go back and look at the arguments and the critiques that I did for Big D. How much of them are they true? Yeah. 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 Like when fucking Big D talks about, there's this internet brand about, it's called Recoil, and he doesn't know what recoil is. Like that's disingenuous and it's kind of gross. But that's the kind of person that Derek chooses to be. And so how much of that is Derek responsible for? Right? And then does he apologize for it? Does he change his ways? No, he fucking doubles down on it because there's money on the table. There's retirement on the table. It's easy for him. It's easy for him to make videos and just sort of be his own douchey BMX self, right? Believe me, that trap is easy to fall into, but I choose a different path. I choose a harder path because I want to choose the right path. I don't want to compromise who I am. Never. I learned that as a child. My parents both wanted me to compromise who I was. And I'm like, this is wrong. Like, this is wrong on so many parts. And then, the church, the Mormons that we were involved with, they did the same thing. And if you notice, and again, I posted that, it's a link to a video of After School. School is spelled with a K. And it talks about why so many people end up broke at the end of their lives. And it's because they followed everybody else. They didn't follow their own path. They were afraid to be unique. They were afraid to be weird. They were afraid to be, who, for lack of a better word, God made them. And to me, that's like super sad. And it's also a huge burden on society when we could have so many more colorful and innovative and funny, wonderful people in our society, but we don't. And so, again, I think that's kind of sad, but I recommend you watch that link. I'll put a link to that in the description in case you missed the post. And also, again, go back and look at my critiques of MB enclosures. Something, I don't know what his name is. It's like Michael Bryan or something like that. Anyways, he's just a shyster. He's like an idiot. I don't even call him a savant. He's just an idiot. And he's been successful, and then he then says, well, look at my success. And again, his success is really not that big as far as on an industry scale. Remember how I told you how little Recoil is, and they do 50K a month? Yeah, MB Enclosures is not doing that. Bobby Gately is not doing that. They're tiny little specks on a fly's turd. So, but if you want to consider them successful as far as YouTube goes, again, look at the competition. There's not a lot of competition. So a lot of it is just timing, like I was talking about with Jacob Fuller. Some of it is just, again, it's just luck. You just happen to be at the right place at the right time and be prepared for it, which is good news for you and good news for me, which means if you're persistent, your chances are much higher. They're never guaranteed, but your chances of success are much, much higher if you keep trying and you keep exploring and you keep examining, what am I doing wrong? Take responsibility. What went wrong here? What can I change? What can I do? And it's also like, what kind of environment I'm in. I just watched this short with Conan O'Brien on his show. He does like a podcast now, and he had what's her name? Is it Wiggins? I forget her name. But anyways, Conan was talking about how he did this sketch pitch, and it killed. It killed in reading, like when just the staff is reading the parts and all that kind of stuff. Everybody was laughing. God, now it's Kristen Wiig. And so, and then when it went to dress, if it was silence, it was dead. And Conan at that point just gave up, and he says, look, there's some sort of magic here. And he goes, I don't know what that magic is. But again, if you keep trying and you just are, diligent about your efforts, and again, if you get along and you enjoy what you're doing, just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy being in the car. You don't have to be, not everybody has to dominate the market and just be this, and really what this force is with Steve Meade and then his partner in crime, literally, Tony DeMore. And again, I don't have to bow to these guys. I look at their work. Study their work. Study how they've ripped other people off, right? Lastly, I'll say about Bobby Gately, which was that, Bobby Gately touts about the product of his quality, or the quality of his product and how badass it is, but he didn't do any work. It's all Jacob. So it's just a Jacob side project that, you know, again, the way that I think Jacob would only participate in something like that is, number one, if it promotes his brand, you know, for Scotty to pay for that, figure out a way to pay for the Jacob for, you know, a very large payout, maybe like 5 million, if that. But also, it's fun. Jacob, believe me, I know it's fun sitting there on CAD and playing around with different designs. If you go back and look at Jacob's channel, which only has like 5 videos on it, he builds this. He had this heat sink design that was just like, it looked like a high school student's project to cool the pole, and it just looked absolutely ridiculous. It could be a lot more. Again, you have to get feedback from other engineers and other designers before your product really gets made. Otherwise, you end up with something really esoteric and really weird that is great in your mind, but it may not sell. And that goes with movies, that goes with all kinds of products, that goes with all kinds of, anytime you're selling stuff. You want more opinions, and you want the thing to be popular for the most part. Unless you're like on Etsy or something like that, then you're like, yeah, I think a Dukes of Hazzard, you know, lick and stick tattoo is fine, you know, whatever. Again, I don't want to judge these things, but I definitely want to have an opinion about them. And I encourage you guys to have an opinion about them too. But anyways, that's good enough for now. That's what, 35 minutes we're headed on. And I love you guys. I'm done soldering these big old fucking 8 layers, and I got to do some recoil videos. So I'll see you in a little bit.
I say fuck what you say. I'm from the old bay and the new bay. When you make the wrong choice, who you gon' blame? I'm all in your ear telling you the wrong thing, but you listen anyway. Buying a dream, you know about us pimps, we be lying in things. I don't wanna fight for the bitch, Joe, it's all about the game and who can spit the most. I'm never too faded to hustle, ball up my fists and make a muscle. I stay strapped, I don't wanna tussle. Fake ass bodyguard niggas wanna wrestle. Cause you think she's liking me? She's going hella stupid on this hyphy beat. And now you wanna fight with me? Make me mad and I'ma fuck your wife to be. I'm from the east side where the Raiders play. Where you get your game from? I say the